everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Most Wanted podcast. I'm McGallon, and this is
Lauren.
we're the owners and founders of Wanted Goons. If you don't know us, we've been around for a little while. Uh, Brand started back in what 2020, late 2020, early 2021. Kind of just as a little bit of a passion project. Kind of started in the living room of Lauren and I's apartment in Lubbock. We kind of you know I played on a team where one of my buddies was a graphic designer. He was doing some projects where he just kind of had to create some certain brands, and he created one of Goons. Just kind of, and we used it under our open team in ESEA 10 seasons ago or so. And I fell in love with the brand, or at least the logo, and decided to turn it into a brand. Played underneath the name, quote unquote, for a season, and then I asked him. I was like, "Hey, man, I think this name could really do some damage in the scene, and I think I've got the proper knowledge to turn this into a brand." And he said, "Go for it, dude." Shout out Mr. BHF. Love that guy. Haven't talked to him in a little bit, but he's the whole reason Wanna Goons is a thing. Then we started off with just picking up a basic like little main team in ESCA. Didn't go very well. I couldn't tell you a single player from that roster. Um, it's so long ago, and they didn't really have an impact. But then after that, we picked up a main team. Two of which of the players are still currently on Wannagoons, Little Beer and Frizzy. That roster still didn't do phenomenal. It was
Yeah.
just like it was just kind of a makeshift roster. It kind of fell apart as the season went on, and but
It was fun though.
it was fun, and that's
Yeah.
that's kind of where like the origin of Wannagoons really just started to thrive.
Yeah.
Was
That's where we actually started to figure out that we could do something and how fun it was to actually watch a team that we are helping with money and stuff.
exactly. I mean, like I had run like previous organizations before, but with Wannagoons it was the first time I felt like a real connection, and it was the first time I could like really control like everything going on. And that like I felt like I could watch on a day-to-day basis and feel the correct vibes, and just sitting there watching. And I'll throw a picture on the screen here shortly of it's just us watching in our living room with Mr. Tony Why Not casting before I think he was even Tony Why Not. He was casting our games on his Twitch channel. I specifically remember his profile picture was spaghetti. I don't know if it's still that. Um, but it was just kind of like the start of all of this, and it's kind of blossomed into what it is now. But that's just really like the foundation of it was just watching those games in our living room. Just very very like small production, nothing crazy, just Tony casting. And again, like I said, the roster didn't do phenomenal, but it created the spark for Lauren and I to want to push this further,
Yeah.
and try to turn it into at least a little bit of what we've turned it into now. Um, and then after that roster, you know Josh Littlebeer wanted to. He moved on, came back eventually, but that roster kind of gave us the connections that we needed to push further. Frizzy, I think I've said this before on Twitter before, but Frizzy was kind of a big saving grace for Wanted Goons. Right after that roster disbanded, Frizzy kind of stayed on and kind of as a content creator, man,
Oh my goodness.
grinded Apex, grinded streaming. He was, I mean, literally every day streaming 5-6 hours a day, like
Yeah.
just
I mean, I think what color did he
he dyed his hair
dye his
purple. It's either
he
red or
dyed his hair.
purple.
One of his subscriber goals was to dye his hair.
Yeah, and Lauren and I were just so behind what Frizzy had done for us, and to continue the Wannagoons name, that we just were like, let's give him the subscriber goal, and it's also fun to see your friends dye their hair
Mhm.
a certain color for fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really like kept Wannagoons going, just almost solely him. Like I don't even think during that time period we had a roster. He connected us with some people that helped kind of build our social media up a little bit. And then that was early 2021, and then about September or October of 2022 or 2021, we uh we decided to make that like push. We were like, all right, we've got everything we think we've got the funding, whatever that meant back then. Um, and we just kind of decided to take a team, pick up a team, and kind of run with it. Of course, we wanted to stay in CS. That's kind of where our roots were rooted in, and we decided. I mean, we trialed like rosters for a good week or two. Then Coley, our current COO, he hopped on as back then as he was a CS manager. He started interviewing teams, rosters, trying to find the best fit. And what we decided was we kind of wanted to start from the ground up and apply this little like we like to call it back in the day like a professional sports mindset where you build a roster. It's like we drafted players and we built them from the ground up. So we picked up an open roster that consisted of, let's see if I can get all five here in the first go. Little Beer, Cody, Chroma, Shinu, and Nocturnal in open. And that was honestly looking back through the history of One Goons 3 years in now. I genuinely think that first season, I want to say it was season 42, if I'm not mistaken, of ESEA was my favorite time ever. Of just looking back on it, I mean they went 14-0 in the season, and just it was electric to watch.
Yeah, it was super fun to watch. What did we were with LCA at that time, right?
Yeah, we were
And
with
that's when the whole Noctac started, was
yeah.
that season when Nocturnal just is a beast and goodness gracious,
Yeah.
that man knows how to op.
Man could not miss that season.
Yeah. It was super fun.
Super fun to watch. LCA was also a big part of that season, just being the ease of everything, of like just being able to watch your players
Hmm.
play and not have to worry about like us streaming it ourselves or anything like that. It just kind of
And
that
it
was
I think LCA really did like help us get into that CS community. It really like they really got our name out there a little bit.
definitely
Like because of the community that they have that they cast for, it really did help like us get to know all the others people who like invest in CS and want to see us thrive. So that was pretty cool.
no absolutely. Um, yeah, and I mean that roster going 14-0. I remember watching the final game of the season. Lauren and I were in our living room now here in Austin. It's a big thing about watching in the living rooms. It's kind of been our thing throughout this whole
We like it on
organization.
the big screen.
We like it on the big screen. It makes us feel special.
Yeah.
I remember watching the game and shout out Parker Parentis, Mr. Fisher Esports himself. He casted that match, and I remember him just like going crazy as they secured the 14-0 season. 14-0 season and open. It's not the greatest accomplishment, but to us like everything that we had already put into that season, all the time, all the effort that the guys had put, it was like a big like just kind of a reward for everything that they had done. It was like
Mhm.
a huge step in the right direction for One of Goons as a whole, and it just like I think that's where like we've had a few sparks throughout One of Goons that have kind of like propelled us, but that like winning moment right there was like, at least in my eyes, was like the moment where I thought this could be something, and we were 10 times smaller than we were back then or
Oh
now,
yeah.
and I think we've come a long way since, but it's still just it's a top five moment for sure, if not number one.
Mhm. And when is this the season that we got Kara?
I think that was right after the season.
Okay. So I
Yes,
think that proved to us that like we probably need to step it up. Like if
yeah,
we're gonna perform on the server, then we need a little bit better than Reed's handmade graphics.
yeah,
And that's when our amazing and talented graphic designer came into the picture.
yes.
How did we find Kara? I don't even remember.
Kara, we got through Little Beer. Little Beer kind of made that connection. They used to be under the organization In the Clouds, or Head in
Mhm.
the Clouds. And Josh kind of, I had used Kara for some kind of freelance stuff just to do some roster announcements and stuff. And then In the Clouds, unfortunately, went under. And Kara, the second the that the organization went under, Kara reached out to me, and it was a no brainer. The second she
Yeah.
was like, "Hey," Swannigan's looking for a designer. I looked at Lauren. I was like, this is what we need.
Yeah.
And she completely revitalized the whole Wanted Goons like graphic departments, the branding. She gave it a story. Like
A lore.
yeah, everything. I mean,
She loves lore.
we can get into it a little bit down the road regarding our rebrand, but she was a
Yeah.
big piece of what Wannagoon's branding, marketing, the lore behind it, the story, the Western feel. She's a huge asset as to why it looks the way it does.
Mhm.
But yeah, she following that open season, we didn't end up getting too far into playoffs, but she really like the CS team was a start, and then Kara kind of coming in and doing what she did was like the next level of moving this into a proper organization. I will say,
Yeah, for sure.
designs go a long ways in esports. It's one thing that
Mhm.
kind of flies under the radar that you don't really see. But if we had been 4 years in with my graphics, I think we would be nowhere near where we are today. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, a big thing that Kara did was like she actually like gave a story through our graphics. I feel like each graphic was connected to each other. There wasn't just like a random graphic that just like popped up on our feed. Like all of them were intertwined, had the same theme, had the same story behind them, looked the same. Not the same, didn't look the same, but like
same
the
vibe.
theme was the same. Like
Yeah.
it was perfect almost.
Yeah, and she absolutely killed it. And and yeah, like I said, she played a big part going down the road. Um, but after that, that was about I want to say that was early January of 2022. So maybe 2023. I think I might have my years off. But yeah, she's been a part of Wannagoons for a while now, and has played a huge role. And then after that, the CS team, kept competing in ESEA. We picked up uh, Apex team that consisted of Frizzy on the roster, and then I think Kara's first big project she actually did for One of Goons was our first LAN event we ever attended, um, which was our Halo Charlotte event.
Mhm.
And she did the game day graphics, travel day, the scoreboards for that. Almost like live creating them as it went on. And that first LAN was a big piece for me because I'd never been in my previous organization really been able to send a team to a LAN event myself. And even though the guys went out 0-2, shout out Native Red for knocking us out of winners bracket in round one. It was still like oh my gosh, I'm getting to see my team, my organization's name uh, on the big stage. It wasn't really the big stage, but it was bigger
It
than
was more
just
like a corner over there.
the corner over there. But also getting to see them play against Native Red was just like
Yeah.
that's cool to see our names, and that's one thing that'll like happen like throughout the storyline of Wanted Goons is just seeing the Wanted Goons name next to those big
Mhm.
organizations like Native, and then in CS we played the likes of EG, NRG. We've come across those big organizations, and just seeing the name next to them is just it's super cool.
Yeah. I think another big thing that happened in the Wannagons history is the launch of our first apparel. It was before our rebrand. We had the old logo, and it really opened our eyes to a lot of the things that happen in the esports bubble. I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of are, I don't want to say scummy, but a little bit weird in esports. There's a lot of kind of
Snake oil salesman.
shady things that happened that like I don't know, companies just like think they can handle apparel and then they can't apparently.
Yes.
So we had some issues with our first drop. I mean, how long did the whole process take? I feel like it almost took 2 months to even get like our
Yeah.
stuff on a store.
We had to create like everything. We had to create a mood board and everything like that. We did it within the day, and it
Mhm.
still took them. Yeah, I'd say it was over a month for sure. I think it bordered a month and a half, 2 months
Yeah.
for before they even got anything ready for like purchase.
Yeah. And then just like we just realized that we can't really rely on other people's customer service. we have to rely on our own customer service because things were taking months to ship. I mean, getting lost, and
Yes.
we couldn't do anything about it. People were like being like, "Where's our stuff?" I was being like, "Where's my stuff? I can't. It's my own
Yeah.
company, and I can't get a hold of my stuff." Like, my jersey probably took 2 months to come in. I just
Might have been
ran.
3.
It randomly just showed up one day, and I was like, "What in the world? I ordered this.
I think you got
I
your
don't even
tracking
remember."
information on your jersey after your
I
jersey
still
had
haven't got
arrived.
I still haven't gotten a hat that I paid for,
That is true.
so
I forgot about that.
it's crazy. But yeah, so after our rebrand and when we pretty much shut down this shop as soon as like my jersey was nowhere to be found. We were like, bye.
Yes, it wasn't worth the hassle. It was too much going on that was out of our control, and just it was, we couldn't do anything about it, and everyone that we knew was just super like unhappy with it. So why continue
Yeah,
down this bad road?
I'd rather have no apparel than
Exactly. Then apparel that's
that.
bad and takes
Yeah,
months to ship.
and that is expensive.
Exactly.
Like we
Which,
couldn't even price our own apparel.
yeah,
It
and
was
we weren't even, and to go behind the scenes of things, we weren't even getting like a decent cut of
mm-mm.
them using our branding, our likeness, and all that. And so
Our
just
community.
our community and their hard-earned money that they're spending on it wasn't going directly back to the organization. And so it just
Hmm.
really didn't make sense to continue that. Just everything aligned with just everything that we disagreed with.
Yeah,
And so it was just time to move on and try to find another alternative.
yeah. But I think since that whole ordeal was just like annoying and took so long, everything took so long to deal with. We pretty much were just like, we're not gonna release new apparel with this logo.
Yeah,
And that's when we just decided that we had a staff. We had, gosh, who was on staff? We had Little Beer, Frizzy,
me, you,
Kara,
cool. Yeah,
Holy.
yeah. It was a lot smaller back then than what it is now.
Yeah.
It was,
And
yeah.
we pretty much had a meeting and we were like, are we going to do a rebrand? Like, and everyone was like, I think that would be a great refresher for
Yes.
the Wonder Goods brand. We are pretty much so tired of not the old logo. I mean, it was a good logo, but we were tired of getting compared to 100 Thieves
I was waiting
every
on
second.
it.
Yeah, it was pretty 100 Thieves esque. I mean, it was the same font,
Yeah,
same
same
colors.
color, same slanted letters. We
Yeah,
can throw a picture on the screen to kind of
yeah.
compare. It's yeah,
So we sat down and we were like, we're gonna have to get somebody because Kara is making graphics for all. We had Halo, Apex, and CS go, and she was too busy to like completely take on the rebrand herself. Like she helped, but she could not be the sole rebrand
yeah,
designer. So I mean, pulled I'd seen a graphic designer, one of my good friends in from the TST community.
kind of help.
He made some phone wallpapers for Optic,
Mm,
and they were insane.
incredible.
Yeah, so pretty much it was Hughes, Mr. Daniel Hughes.
Love that
I
guy.
just DM'd him one day and I was like, "Hi, Hughesy boy, we need a designer to help us with the rebrand." And he was like, heck yeah. And
Didn't even
so
question it.
yeah, he was like, of course, of course. And Hughes has been an amazing, like, freaking amazing addition to the Goons family. I
Yeah,
mean, he is so talented, everything.
everything he
But yeah,
does, it's everything he sends me every time I ask for a design or anything like that. It I never think he can do better than what he's already done, and it
mhm.
is just incredible every single time. I mean, and him and Car work together on things, and their graphics are the backbone of
Oh
Wanted
my
Goons.
goodness.
Um,
When they start spitting
oh
together, it is like watching a movie.
yes, you know
Like in our Discord, when they start just like, especially during the rebrand, when I mean, they're, oh my gosh, and they type one sentence at a time and hit enter. This is something we would realize about both Hughes
yes
and Kara during this time. During the rebrand time, when they would like go back and forth, they type a sentence, enter. Sometimes just a word, enter, and then it's like huge paragraphs to each other. They're a funny duo, that's for sure.
yes they are. I would say they're two of the most different personalities in in Wannagoons, especially in management. But they get along so well. They work hand in hand perfectly, and them just bouncing off of each other was a sight to see, to say the least.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Hughes Hughes kind of took a big, leading step in that rebrand. Kara kind of, we all kind of met in that meeting that Lauren mentioned, and you know, explained kind of what we wanted. We didn't know what we wanted off the start, but you hear wanted goons. Our hashtag had been most wanted forever. When you think most wanted, wanted goons, it kind of gives you that Western kind of country feel. And the organization's roots are in Texas. I grew up on a farm in East Texas. Lauren's grown up on a ranch. We've been around this Western country music, everything like that for our entire lives. And it only kind of made sense to just keep kind of pushing with that Western cowboy yeehaw vibe. And they they took that and they ran with it. Um, and it was I think we started in April and kind of set the, maybe even in March of that year, and kind of just said, hey, let's have this done by June. We'll announce. We had everything like almost on a perfect timetable of when we needed it by, and just every week we had a meeting. It seemed like, and where they came with their their new concepts, their new logo ideas, and finally it was like it all fell into place.
Mhm.
You would we would just get one, and it was like, I like that one a lot, and then they'd tweak it a little bit, and it was just, how did you improve that? And it slowly kind of came into what you see now as the one goons with the 5 stars underneath, and the 5 stars is a huge touch. I mean, it's down the
Yeah.
lowest now. It's I think it's a perfect little fit to the lore of wanted goons.
Mhm. I mean, oh my goodness. How many different variations did we see of Goons
God,
before we decided?
God,
I mean, Hughes came to the first meeting after our initial meeting with 13
13, I think.
designs,
Yeah, I could probably find that picture somewhere.
and we just all sat down as a management team and just said everything we like, we don't like in each of them. And then the next meeting, he came with like 7
6,
or
yeah.
8. And we just kept doing that over and over again until we got like what everyone just fell in love with. Like it was a combination of probably 4 different designs that he had made, and it just fit perfectly.
Yeah. Once we had the logo, we kind of knew the path we wanted to take with the brand,
Mhm.
because that was a big thing we discussed, was we're tired of, like, not tired of it, but we wanted to set ourselves apart from all these other organizations that just have the logo. It's just a
Mhm.
logo. There's no story behind it. There's no meaning to it. And we really wanted to put our spin on it. And so, we had the logo done by June, and we were announcing July 1st. And so we spent that entire month of June building up headers, graphics, the lore, the background of it all, and just kind of building what we wanted the Wannagoons branding and marketing and
Yeah.
story to represent. And that's where Kara, I think, really had. Hughes was huge on the logo piece itself, but Kara with the branding and the lore just took it and ran with it. And
Mhm.
she came up with a whole storyline, and that really like Wild West country vibe that you see on a lot of our graphics, and even around us on this screen that you're seeing right now. You've got the
Mm.
cowboy hat, the stars, the tumbleweeds, everything like that.
Yeah. And at first, when we announced, like skipping to when we announced our rebrand, I mean, there was some haters.
There were.
There were some lovers. I remember some
Mm,
opinions of mine were formed during this time about some people,
yeah.
and I think now most people look back at the old One Goons logo and they're like, "How
Yeah.
was that ever the logo?"
Exactly.
Like our we have built our brand so much based on our logo now. Like it is exponentially better
Yeah.
than our logo before and what that logo did for us.
Yeah. That initial logo means a lot to me. More than
Mhm.
anything, it's where this project started. But now it's even hard for me to look back on that logo and just be like, how did we run an organization, a company with that logo compared to? And Brandon did a phenomenal job. Uh,
Yeah.
no shade to him whatsoever, but I don't think it was built to last in the scene with a logo that was so identical. And so I think this one just set us aside because I truthfully I can't think of, maybe besides the Houston Outlaws, of another organization that's got this Western kind of old West, Wild West feel. And so I think that was what we went for, and I think we achieved it pretty well.
Yeah. And really after do you want to talk a little bit about like our apparel from
Oh yeah, that's a
based off of like our new logo?
yeah. I didn't even forgot about that. There was so much that happened in such a
Yeah.
short period of time. But yeah, during that month of coming up with the graphics, another thing we decided was, let's get apparel back in. We've got this new logo. Let's get
Or
people.
how did we figure out how to do a little shout out on how to run our own store? Because we
Yeah,
pretty much had already made our minds up that we are not going to go through anyone else,
yeah, just kind
and we had to figure out how to do it. I bought a freaking sewing machine or
of.
embroider machine
Yeah,
because
it's
I
sitting right behind me.
we were so done with like other brands,
Hmm.
like brands like that.
Yeah.
And so who taught you how to do?
It was the people over at Detonate. From what I remember, Detonate. We have this kind of. I'll expose it a little bit. We've got a group chat. We call it the NACS Enjoyers. It's a lot of the organization personnel from North American Counter Strike Tier 2, Tier 3. A lot of the owners, the management, stuff like that, and that's where we spitball a lot of ideas. And a lot of us had had trouble with apparel, and Mr. Lavoski from Detonate was they had just done their Shopify kind of run with their apparel. It looked phenomenal. They had full control of everything, and that was a
Mhm.
huge like piece for me, and I think for everybody in One of the Goons was, we want to be in control of it. If something goes wrong, I want people to be able to reach out to me, to everyone, and we can resolve the issue rather than having us be the middleman.
Yeah.
And he kind of just outlined what we needed to do. He answered any questions we had, and it was a
Yeah.
lot of trial and error. I will say that, running your own website, um, finding the right pieces of clothing, putting it on the logo to make it look appealing. I went through dozens of websites trying to figure out how this whole process worked, and
Mhm.
so we dropped the day of the new logo. We dropped our what we call our bare bones collection. We wanted a piece or a collection that's always going to be available. It's nothing too complex. It's most of it's just the Wanted Goons logo, just on some decent pieces of clothing. Just something simple that people like can represent the organization if they want. Shorts,
Yeah.
hats, water bottle, pants, anything you kind of want, stuff like that. And I think that was a big step for us as well, is being able to learn how to do that and do it the way we did. um, and have the freedom and creativity to it taught us that we had the freedom and creativity to put out our own collections and do all these things. And I think that was that
Yeah.
learning that gave us a big spark and a big motivation to be like, okay, we could do these limited edition drops, these stylistic designs that you see the bigger organizations, shout out
Yeah.
100 Thieves, do. And that was big for us.
And I think our main goal with like opening our own Shopify, and I mean, it really opened our eyes to how much people are charging
Yes.
for these things. Like, how much they actually cost to make and how much people are charging. Which we understand people want to make money, but we were like, these are your fans who
Yeah.
just want to rep you. So like we made it a very big deal to try to fairly price everything. Like our margins are not that crazy. We're barely making any money off of most thing like apparel wise or
Yeah.
so I mean that's one thing I really love that we do. We how much are hoodies?
Our hoodies are like $45. It's
And when we were with another company, our hoodie was $110.
golly, didn't even
Like
remember that.
that is crazy. I can't believe like people just charge that
Yeah.
and think it's normal.
Yeah. And
It's just a
I would
hoodie.
never myself. I don't think I could ever justify spending that much on a
No.
hoodie unless it was something crazy.
Like my favorite in the
Yes.
world.
And so I think we kind of all had the common like agreements to just why would we charge that if none of us would ever charge that? And so
Yeah.
finding the right pieces that were good quality, but also that we could put a good price on for everybody. I
Mhm.
still don't to this day. I don't think we've had a piece of clothing or merchandise or anything like that that's been over like $60. If it has,
Yeah.
it's barely been over it, and it's because the cost was so high. So
Mhm. I think at this point, do you remember like did we ask Hughes to stay or did Hughes just be like, "This is my family now.
yeah,
I'm
and
staying."
I think it was just it was family. He
Yeah,
I
he just fit in so well and he
yeah.
loved the lore and the family behind it. I think he just stayed and we were like, "All right." And so what was our next collection after Bare Bones?
Right
Was it
after
Suns Out? Suns
Suns
Out
Out,
Guns Out,
Suns Out, Guns Out. Yeah,
which is one of the best collections we've had to date, probably. I mean,
absolutely,
everything Hughes touches turns to gold, so
definitely.
I'm not surprised at all, but I think like Hughes was just like, yeah, I can do that, and then just started working his butt off on this collection, and now he literally runs our apparel. He
Yes.
is like the main designer of all One and Goon's apparel. I think he didn't even know he was this talented
Mm-hmm.
at making apparel and designing it, and I think he has learned so much during this process, and he's gotten so much better. Like I remember our skull shirt in Suns Out Guns Out, he learned so much on that one because I mean, he was a graphic designer before, so like you're just putting stuff onto like Twitter. Like you don't have to think about the color of the shirt and which color each thing has to be for it to look right on the shirt. And he learned so much from that first collection that every collection he does next is just even better.
Better and better. And I think what we're as of today, 4 or 5 drops into the
Yeah.
organization. I mean, I the bare bones wasn't much, but I mean, we've had the Suns Out, Guns Out was July of 2023, followed by Schoolyard Collection, which was kind of like our. We got it on right now, actually, a piece of it. It's
Hmm.
kind of like our back to school type vibe. Kind of had that athletic department type wear. That was my like we've kind of isolated everyone to like having their own collection. So mine was I wanted that very like athletic school type shirt, and he was absolutely killed this. Got like 4 or 5 different logos out of it, followed
Yeah. And then
by what was next? Is it racing? I feel like we had one in between that and racing, but I guess Schoolyard was through
no.
January. So yeah, next was
Yeah.
had to be the racing collection, which
Yeah.
was
This collection. Let me
Lauren's.
stand up. So this was pretty much my idea. We're not completely done with my idea. Wink
Oh,
wink.
hint, hint, hint.
But pretty much I feel like in esports we're lacking like cool like graphic tees that relate to gaming, like tees that aren't like kind of cringe. I mean,
Stuff you can wear out and
be like,
not
what
look
the
like,
heck are you
yeah, what
wearing?
is that video game looking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I really wanted like a cool, like this was my main like want was this one.
Yeah.
Like a racing graphic tee with, and it has one of our iRacing cars on it that they designed, like, and it looks so clean and so good, and nobody like it's a racing shirt. It looks like a NASCAR shirt. It's
Exactly.
pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's solid.
And so I wanted just like shirts in an apparel line that related to each game we were in. And Hughes has been doing a great job. It's been difficult
Yes.
trying to like do it
And
correctly,
avoid,
I'll say.
yeah, avoid copyrights, avoid
Yeah.
legal trouble. It's been difficult,
Yeah. It
but
has been.
he has killed it. That was Lauren's big wish on it, was make it vague enough where we would avoid any copyright, but make it descriptive enough to where you'd understand what it's about. And
Yeah.
we're now into our
Our
second
yeah.
game of that collection, which is what Wannagoon's roots are in, and it's our CS collection, aka the retake collection. And
Hmm.
Hughes absolutely, Hughes has done some phenomenal work, but I think out of all of the designs that he's done so far, I think this collection takes the cake. At least for me, um, he 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 absolutely killed this one.
I mean, it just really hits home.
Yes, I mean even from the piece on the clothing itself to the announcement graphic that he made of bouncing around the Dust 2 map. It was just, and for somebody who's never even, I don't even think the guy has touched Counter Strike in his
No,
life,
he hasn't.
and he just bodied or like just just got the essence,
Destroyed it. I mean, he
destroyed it.
just
He, I mean,
understood.
I think all he knew was terrorists and counter terrorists, and was like, sure, yeah, I got
Yeah.
this.
I mean, we've kind of forced him to understand Counter Strike
Yeah,
over the years because, uh,
it's one of
I
Goons.
mean, that's all we do pretty much besides iRacing.
Yeah, one of Goons. CS and iRacing has been the longest tenure.
Oh, don't let me forget about R6. Oh my gosh, I'm going cuckoo.
Yes, R6 has
Let's talk about our
recently,
R6 team. Oh
our
my
more
goodness.
recent, you know, step, I guess is the best word to use. Our whole journey into the Rainbow Six community has just been
It was so weird. The
just
beginning was
the
so
craziest.
weird.
From I, I, I don't even know how to describe us getting into it. It
It was
kind of was like an
Frizzy.
accident, but not at the same time.
It was Frizzy, our esports
Esports
director.
director, yeah,
Just one day in management chat, it was like, I think I have a R6 team. And
yeah.
we were like, okay.
Okay,
He's like,
details.
yeah, like, what? Like, we don't even really know what R6 is. Like, we need to do some research before we actually sign them. And he was like, no, we got him.
We got this. He was like, "This is the team for one of Goons," and I was like,
Okay, trust
"All
you.
right, we trust you, Frizzy." Um,
Yeah.
and like Lauren said, we don't know much about Rainbow Six. In my previous experience, I had one team and previous organizations compete in Rainbow Six, and it was our best game. And so, like, kind of taking that natural step into it was an experience. So we didn't even get to like fully experience the announcement of picking up our Rainbow Six roster. I was out on a walk one day. I think we were actually, and I looked at my phone, and the Rainbow Six Esports Twitter
Oh, yeah.
had tweeted out, and it was like tonight's action, including wanted goons, and I was like,
What?
we haven't even like signed the contracts yet. What's going on here? And so, and we weren't planning on announcing for another 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Just because we still had to get graphics ready, we had to get the team all situated. We had to still do a little bit of our research to figure out how to
Hmm.
operate as a brand with a Rainbow Six team. And honestly, I think that was the best thing that could have happened for us, just because it kind of like forced our hand into not overthinking things.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we've done so much, is just kind of make sure that we're overly prepared for rosters and moves that we're making, and just having it like forced upon you to just go with the flow of things was, it was an experience, but I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, me too. I'd even like it feels like a fever dream at this point. It happened so fast.
Yeah.
And we were just like, "What the heck is Frizzy doing? Like,
Yeah,
he's not even asking us if like we want to pick up this team." But no,
he
he
was
knew
like,
what he was doing. He knew how funny all of them were
yeah. I
and
mean, he
how
went to
good
school
they'd
with one of
be.
them, so he knew him on
Yeah,
a personal level.
yeah.
Shout out those
And I
guys.
mean, their big video, they really
God, the video.
the video,
If
yeah,
you think of a lot of people, if you ask them around any kind of anybody anywhere in esports, if they've heard of One of Goons and how they heard of One of Goons, the R6 video is probably going to be said at least 9 out of 10
yeah,
times, I would say. And as weird as it was and as funny as it was to us, I don't think any of us could have imagined how big it went.
mm-mm.
It was, they had just qualified for playoffs for the Element 2 for Rainbow Six and started singing. What's the name?
I want it that way.
Exactly.
Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys. I can't remember. I don't know what the exact name of the song is.
Me neither.
I'm too old. But
Young?
too young, old, and that,
Yeah.
yeah, young. Um, but it kind of popped off on the Rainbow Six Esports Twitter. I could tell you the exact numbers. It's like 343,000 impressions within the first 2 days, and that was our first like, holy cow kind of moment,
hmm
at least in Rainbow Six, and that was our biggest like kind of grossing, you know, engagement from any kind of social media. And so that was a weird kind of, like Lauren said earlier, like a fever dream uh,
Yeah.
of trying to what do we do with this, and
Yeah.
like what does this what do we do with Rainbow Six, and like I think you could probably scroll through my Twitter and probably from December of 2023 to even now, I probably tweeted 20 times asking for advice and help on the Rainbow Six scene because I don't understand it still to this day. They have so many levels to it
Yeah.
and they're such an interesting group. But that's not even the biggest part of that video. Somebody's recommended to do a little something and send it over to the way of Jake Lucky, the wonderful man himself. And it was just on a complete whim. Lauren just looked at me one time and said, "Why not?" And I was like, "Worst he can say is no, or not even read it." And sure
Yeah.
enough, and I think it was the next morning, I woke up to a text from Jake Lucky, which was just an experience. Somebody I've been following since he was CS:GO News, and just he was like, "Absolutely, I've got to post this." So he was asking all the information. He tweeted it out a few days later as a clip of the week. Got number one on the clip of the week. I was like, "Oh, that's cool." It got a couple 100,000 impressions. And I thought that was
hmm
gonna be the it. And then he DM'd me like the next day and was like, "Well, I'm gonna put this out by itself. Like everybody loves this." And goodness gracious, did he put it out?
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know the numbers on that one, but it was
Nine
crazy.
hundred and sixty thousand impressions within the first week. It may have touched a
Jeez.
million now, but you know, I I could pull up. I dream of those social analytics we had that week. He even tagged us, and it tagged all the players, which was huge. I mean,
Yeah.
usually when stuff like that gets posted around, it's just like this is the one at Goons team, whatever, blah blah blah. But never do you really ever see people get tagged, and I've got to thank Jake a lot for that, of putting our name and our handle in there. We gained over 300, 400 followers that week alone just from that tweet, and that really propelled us, and so much so that we ended up picking up another Rainbow Six roster as our academy, just because we love the scene so much, and everyone in Rainbow Six had been so friendly, so kind, and so just like
Funny.
so funny, and love the brand, specifically certain things about it, but we won't go there. And but that video is a top moment, I think, for everyone in One of Goons, and
For sure.
it's just a fun memory to look back on, and I still see it kind of pop up every once in a while of people talking about it, and people loved it. Some people hated it, but I think it really showed how fun gaming can be and how fun esports can be. They're playing in a, I think the grand total for the prize pot was a couple like $50,000 for that entire event, and just qualified for the playoffs to secure money. And they're singing Backstreet Boys, and it just, I think it was the epitome of like esports isn't serious 100% of the time. You can have some fun, and those guys resembled that so well.
Mhm.
I think one thing that kind of came out of that video and our community growing was, what does wanted goons mean to people, or what does it mean to us? And a lot of people have a lot of different answers, but I think at least for us, when we hear the word goons, the first thing at least I think of, I think Lauren kind of is on the same page, is this episode of Sweet Life on Deck. It kind of shows us how old we are here. But growing up, there was an episode, and it's been instilled in my brain since the start of this brand, and it's Sweet Life on Deck. I think it's season 2, episode 1. I could be completely wrong on that. Don't quote me. But it's the FBI and CIA episode, the federal, what is it, something where they're trying to steal a hard drive on the
Yeah.
boat, and there's they're fighting, and
Zach and Cody are tied up.
they're tied up, and two guys break into the room, and it's a bunch of goons, and it and
I
the
think Zach or Cody's like, "What did you do? Bring a bunch of goons in here to like beat us up?" And it's like that's what like
yeah, he
kind
goes,
of what
yeah,
goon means to us. Like when we think goon, we think outlaw. We think like someone who's like kind of a bad A, like somebody who is like going against the grain, like doing outlawish things, like beating people up, doing
like a thief, like a
yeah,
bandit, kind of that vibe that it fits. It's
yeah,
thieves, bandits, anything you could kind of think of that kind of resembles a criminal a little bit, but also, like Lauren said, like a bad A,
yeah.
who's not afraid to do anything, who's not afraid of anything, and that's why they're wanted.
Mhm.
And you know, uh, at the start of this, we didn't have like a definition behind wanted goons. It was just kind of a name, and it's kind of we've all kind of grown our own definition to it, and now it's that kind of Wild West cowboy who's kind of out on the limb, who's wanted, and
Wanted.
hence the most wanted branding we have on almost everything, or the dead or
Mhm.
alive hashtag that we use. We've kind of dove really into like being that most wanted, the wanted goons. It's not just one. It's not just the wanted goon. It's the wanted
Yeah.
goons, and I think that's a big aspect. Is like there's a
Our
lot. It's our
community. There's a
community.
lot.
It's our players. It's our content creators. But it's also the people who support us, who watch us, who kind of just are there every step of the way, in whatever shape or form that is. And I think that's a big thing for us, is just having those people. That's one thing Lauren and I have had plenty of conversations over the last few years about, is we want this to be a community that is supportive, that is of everybody regardless of anything, and we want
Yeah.
this to feel like a home and like a family to people, and we hope that we can do that for everyone in the organization and outside, and I feel like we've done a decent job at it so far. I mean, we used to have what, almost nightly like hangouts of 10 to 15 people in the Discord. We've
Mhm.
kind of slowed down a little bit because life's a little crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've had people from all over, from different games, different scenes, different organizations, even just coming in, hanging out. And I think that's one thing that we love to do, is just allow people
Mhm.
from different spaces and everything just come in, hang out, play games together, watch things together, talk about
Yeah.
Lord knows what.
I think me and you like sat down one day and we were like, what do we want this to be like our community wise? Besides like the teams and what they're playing in, what do we actually want to make this be? And I know like I've been kicked out of communities for no reason. Like nobody has even told me anything. And so I was very adamant that like we're going to be very vocal with everyone in our community. We're going to let everyone come in and like feel welcome and feel like not scared to join the general call when we're in there.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we just I and people do join the general call like all the time. People we don't even know. Like
Exactly.
I couldn't imagine doing that, like just joining a call with people you've heard of.
No.
And we oftentimes have I mean, one time we had some guy who joined and then the next second hopped in the call and just started asking Reed like, "How do you do apparel? Like, can you like tell me?" Like we were just playing Halo with my
Hmm.
brother, I think, and he just started asking Reed all these questions. How did you make up your brand? How do you like what do you use apparel? Like all of that. And it was pretty cool. Like he just like felt open enough, and we're very open with our community, and so everyone just feels comfortable to drop like stop in any call, I think,
Yeah.
whenever they want. And we're not perfect at that
No.
still. And we always are trying to do better at that, like making people feel very welcome and
Yeah.
letting them know that they have a voice and they can talk to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's definitely tough because it's a like we said, it's a lot of people and it's a lot. It takes a lot out of us. And sometimes we do like our alone time, and so it's not every night we can hop in the call. But it's also we love to do our watch parties for any time any of our teams are playing, especially our CS teams, whether it's the advanced roster, the Outlaws, especially the Bandits. We've been doing a lot of watch parties over the last few years with them, and we just like to invite people in, and especially like I think it's cool. I don't see very many organizations having the people at the top at such a reachable spot, especially watching their own games. I mean, you see Nate Shot streaming his watching the Valorant matches, but you don't get to see the true emotion of org owners and management watching their players win and lose and
Why would
every,
you pick that?
yeah,
Is a
there's
very
yeah,
common term Reed uses
yes,
with
there's
our watch
we
party.
used to do streamed watch parties, and
Oh
we
gosh.
don't do that anymore because I don't need our players seeing me question every one of their moves. I apologize, guys, if you're watching this, but yes, I do judge every single move you make, regardless if it's good or bad or if it works or it doesn't. You are getting judged. um, but it
All love
it's
though.
all love, and they're 10 times better than I could ever be. I never got out of open, so I'm on the Bandits intermediate roster right now. So do we count it? Do we?
No.
Damn,
They're better.
they are better than me. They're better than I ever was, and but yeah, I think our community is growing, and I'm happy for it because I love everyone here. I love everyone that's involved. Uh, or else we wouldn't be doing this. And the people around us are just wonderful people. And they make Wanted Goons what it is.
Yeah.
It's not me. It's not Lauren. It's a collective between management, content creators, players, and more importantly, the fans, the community, the people that support us, who watch the games, buy the apparel, do all that. We couldn't do it without every single one of those people.
Yeah. We've gotten lucky.
Yeah,
Man, we have some extremely good content creators, some very
absolutely.
passionate, good, loyal content creators that are here with us. Um, honestly, it was like fate, kind of, all of them.
Yes.
Like, I found No on my browse on Twitch. Like, that's where I found No. And I just reached out because I loved her stream and I loved what she was doing, and then she joined, and she's been an amazing addition. Where did we found Psycho
Through Josh, I think.
through Josh, and he has been, oh my gosh, he's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we could
There's we could go through all of
go
them and
through the
say
list of content
everything,
creators.
but
All of them have shined in their own rights. Um,
yes,
but also, while we're on the topic, shout out to Little Beer. He has brought in several of those
yes.
content creators. He's not afraid to talk to them, not afraid to reach out to them. And our content creators are a big stepping stone into the reason we're at where we're at.
Alrighty, goons. I think that's gonna wrap up our first episode. I had a lot of fun. I
As
hope
did
Reed
I.
did
Yeah,
too.
I did.
And I mean, stay on the lookout, man. We're gonna be pumping out these episodes weekly, and our next episode has a very special guest.
Oh.
Not gonna spoil who it is, but it's gonna be a really good episode, and we're gonna dive really deep into the history of Goons from a different perspective. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and even following that, we'll have some more special guests following next week's. We're going to try to give as many uh, guest appearances and people giving their origin story of not only how they got into Wannagoons, but how they got into their expertise and like what they specialize in. So stay on the lookout for those.
Yep. I hope you enjoyed watching. We'll see you again next week.
Bye bye.
Bye.